Welcome to the first ever edition of the I Read the Clermont Sun So You Don't Have to report. So I have my Clermont Sun here that I picked up at Walmart. They sell them at Walmart. I think they sell them at Meijer, and they probably sell them at Jungle Gyms as well. So this is the March 13th edition of the Clermont Sun. If I can hold it up right. And I'm going to cover all the news in here, and I don't think it's going to take very long. So, just as a reference, the press deadline for the Clermont Sun is on Tuesdays. So that would be the 11th. And then the paper comes out on the 13th. They used to not be able to get it in stores to buy until Saturday. It would have been the 15th, but I guess they've improved on that a little bit. So let's hit what's going on. Let me take this apart here. There's one section. It's a total of 14 pages. And I'm going to highlight some of the stories for you so you don't have to read this thing. It says at the top it's the 196th year of the Clermont Sun. I think it's probably seen better days. It cost $1.50 for the 14 pages, so that's like 10 cents a page for this paper. So there's a story on Tate Township asking for input as leaders begin to update the township's comprehensive zoning plan. Tate Township's a pretty small township. I guess that's the top news story on the left side of the very top masthead. That's the most important thing that happened in Clermont County during the week where the press deadline was the 11th. That's number one, and that's written by Megan Alley, the one and only apparently reporter / editor / probably washes the coffee cups at wherever the hell their office is. But here's what's kind of the most valuable is, see, there's Clermont man convicted of 12 separate counts, including involuntary manslaughter. And I put that in there. So the very top headline of the Clermont Sun is a piece that is submitted by the prosecutor. So just ponder this for a second. The very top thing is, and let me hit a little music here. Swamp sounds. Okay. In what kind of world does a newspaper have its stories being submitted by elected officials? Apparently not a world in which you care about any sort of journalistic integrity or anything. So the very top story is provided by an elected official. And if you look throughout the Clermont Sun, almost everything is provided by somebody else. So on the front page, there are two stories that are attributed to Megan Alley, Tate Township asking for input as leaders. I'm not going to go into these stories because you can run to your Walmart or your wherever the hell they sell this thing and buy a copy today if I just pique your interest on one of these articles. Like you're just burning about this Tate Township asking for input. That's a story. Tate asking for input is a news story, not like car wreck, political intrigue, something going on in the political world, projects. It's asking for input. Okay, that's the number one story. And then a story provided by the elected official, Mark DeCalvey, who in my estimation and a lot of people's estimations is an utter and complete crook. So then there's a thing about authorities warn of some sort of jury scam. And then everything else is submitted content. There's something about disabled American veterans get briefed by congressional representatives that, by the way, does not seem to include Congressman, what says for, but the picture does not have Congressman Taylor in there. It has Greg Landsman, the Democrat. And then another front page story is Williamsburg is apparently going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. So those are your big news. So the number one news story in all of Clermont County ending the week of the 11th, when the press deadline is, was Tate Township asking for input and a story submitted by the prosecutor were the elected official. Now let me flip to some of the other pages here. There's a story, by the way, most of the themes in here are liberal. So, and all these like there's a lot of veterans things in here, and they're all, quite a few of them are about how they're upset that VA people are being fired or some sort of Doge spending restraints taking place. And that seems like probably these representatives are political people, not maybe true representative of veterans. And they And so they care about money more than efficiency, because I guarantee you that there's a lot of things now where government is highly inefficient and can be automated and improve service levels dramatically, and not just provide some sort of a crony jobs. I'm all for veterans, but I don't. I think that a lot of it is, I'm sure we could spend less money and get better services by breaking a culture of bureaucratic entrapment of these functions. Bureaucracy is the biggest problem with veterans programs, and Doge is all about getting rid of that. So there is on page 3 a community calendar, which I'll count that. I'm going to have a scorecard of how much of the content in here is actually coming from anybody at the Sun versus submitted by other people. There's a community calendar, which I count it, that is the Sun, but it's just has to submit. It's got like 5 events on there. I guess that's all that's going on in Clermont County. There's an op-ed on the powerful opinion page. There's only one article that has anything to do with Clermont County directly, and it's something about something called Family Career and Community Leaders of America. And it's a submitted letter to the editor kind of thing. And I don't even know what it's talking about, but it mentions Grant Vocational. So I guess it somehow ties to that. There's a couple editorials on that are submitted content that do not relate directly to Clermont County. Something about a guy hacked off about VA contracts being canceled, and happy that some court made 300 of them get reinstated. And he's wearing a hat, so I assume this guy's a veteran. But I don't know the details on these contracts, but I trust that there's a ton of inefficiency, waste, and abuse in the VA, and that's what people should be about. But sometimes when people get to be these talking heads, they get, if this guy takes a paycheck from some veterans thing, then he's interested in preserving and protecting the bureaucracy because that might be where he sucks the tit at. But I don't know. He doesn't talk about that. There's nothing in here. He just says he's retired, and he's so I don't know. So it has his email address and some article, very county oriented article about America risk losing technology race to China. I can find probably a million articles that are better than this one by Googling that topic. And but that's in here, and who's that written by? I don't know. Somebody who's a judge on the Court of Appeals, which I don't know what would make you being a judge on the Court of Appeals to have a valuable opinion relating to China, or why that opinion would be in a dink newspaper. The guy's name is Paul Michael. I don't think he's from here. I don't know where the hell he's from. Okay. So now we get into the sports section. That's pretty much, there's a couple stories. That was the entire news content. There's going to be a couple more articles that are news content, but then we're going to get into the sports section. Sports. Okay. So here's what the Clermont Sun has on sports. It's Jake Dowling. Apparently the Clermont Sun is just Megan Alley, who's the reporter and editor, Jake Dowling, who writes sports articles, and Karen Brown, who sells advertising. That's the entire Clermont Sun, as far as I can tell. By the way, the last time I checked, about a year ago, I think it was a year ago, they only have 1,133 delivered subscription owned people. 1,133 of a county of like 210, 15,000. You have to try hard to have that bad of numbers. I could go door to door and probably, because it's not that expensive. You could probably go door to door and have one campaign and triple your subscriptions. But apparently there's a philanthropist that's okay with probably not making any money on this thing. So in the sports section, there's the whole page. I'm going to try to hold this up. There's a whole page that is just on a wrestler. Okay. And I'm like, I got nothing against wrestling. I don't know if it's the hot burner thing. And congrats to the guy, that placed at state. Nothing against the Johnson who placed at state. But there's basically a whole page on a wrestler placing at state. And then there's something about CNE and West Clermont are going to get new coaches for soccer. And then you go to the next page that has some sports stuff here. And what do you got? You got more stuff about wrestlers. So if you're really into wrestlers, you better check out the Clermont Suns edition this week because like a huge percentage of the content about sports is about wrestlers in a particular wrestling tournament. So apparently, Jake Dowling went to this wrestling tournament or something, and therefore everything's about the wrestling tournament. There is a story about basketball in Loveland, and that's let's see if that's it. Okay, let's see if there's any more sports. So two wrestler stories. Um, yeah, I don't see any more sports anywhere. So two wrestler stories, a story about Loveland Tigers basketball, and that what CNN and West Claremont are naming high soccer coaches. I would venture to say that if you just searched on Google for Clermont County sports, you would find shitloads more content than this on there. So, um, but that's what's funny is Jake Dowling seems to do more writing on sports though than on than Megan Alley does. So then there's going to be a few more articles, but just so you know, the only reason this paper can exist is because of this public notices. So the law requires the government to publish notices in newspapers like this. And they basically are forced to do it. And so the only competition to the Sun, at least at present, would be the Enquirer. So the Enquirer, and I'm sure the Enquirer costs more, but they can basically have pretty high rates for this kind of public, and it's only needs to be there because of the government. Now, it probably made sense in some era because for you to act, people actually read newspapers, but it would make much more sense now just to have a sort of a statewide clearinghouse of all these notices that you could go access, search, filter, and screen based on things you might be interested in. Like if you're a paving company and you're looking for notices about paving contracts, that's the kind of stuff that's in here, or you're somebody looking for, unclaimed funds, your family name. This is completely crony. And I'll tell you what, this causes a paper like this, the Clermont Sun, to be bought and paid for by the government. Okay, it's kind of like the contracts, the special subscriptions for government for media sources at the national level. And it turns out they're only in business because the government's paying, for $500 subscriptions for a bunch of people. And it's the same with this. So this paper cannot criticize the government because if it criticizes the government, they can temporarily move their ads to something like the Enquirer. Okay, the Sun would pretty much go out of business because it can't survive without these, and then that would be it. So they can't. They're beholden to this because they have way more of this than they have actual news content. They have one, two, three, 4 pages of government ads out of 14. 4 pages out of government ads. The news content is one, two, two and a half. And there's some other articles. So let's say 3 in the back. I'm going to hit that, because it's like a crossword and stuff like that. So this is basically just a rag to get the money for those, and they probably could care less. Now there's a page of just regular classifieds. I don't know why anybody would get them. There's no circulation here to make it worthwhile. Then there's a page of some more stuff buried in the back, some green umbrella. Okay. Anybody ever heard of green umbrella? I haven't heard of green umbrella. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's all submitted content. Something about scholarships, but it's all submitted content. One is submitted by Green Umbrella, one's submitted by Vietnam Veterans of America. And then there's a notice of a public meeting submitted by Milford. All of it just republishing, government stuff that's been submitted to it or organization stuff of like this Green Umbrella, whatever that is. And again, I already pointed out, it shows you what a rag this thing is, that the lead story on the top page of the is a story that's provided by the prosecutor. The elected officials are writing their own news stories. It's unbelievable. This says it all. It's embarrassing. By the way, you never see Megan Alley anywhere. I've never seen her for years. I used to see her every now and then at something, but for years I haven't seen her at any government meetings. There's a submitted piece of somebody named Matthew McAdow, and about the Bengals. And I don't know why. And then something about there's another submitted piece of content on the back about 50th Vietnam War 50th commemoration ceremony that took place at a veteran park in Union Township. But none of this stuff is written by the Sun. It's submitted stuff. So if you want to have an article on anything, just submit it to the Sun, and they just reprint articles as news. So I did an analysis, and if I count the stuff in here, including the community calendar thing, which is just submissions that at least somebody at the Sun has to format, the total amount of articles in the Sun for the week of March 13th, where the press deadline was the 11th, is 20. Of those, 11 of them are submitted by other people. So 55% of the content is not even written by the Sun. It's just them reprinting something. Megan Alley, the editor slash reporter slash watch the coffee cups at the office, she did 2 stories, and the sports guy did, I think, 3. Okay, the 2 wrestler stories, and you know, so that's our flagship paper. It's a kind of a joke, and I don't know. Probably the most valuable. So I'm done with the content. That's it. Okay, it's 8. I'm a long talker. We started 2 minutes later, and we have a total of it's 15 minutes to cover all this. Okay, and you're paying 10 cents a page for basically crap that you could, by Googling 2 or 3 times or looking at X, you'd find way more interesting and valuable information. So what is actually, I do want to highlight, I don't have a sponsor for what's going to be the weekly review. And I think, going forward, I was thinking about hitting some things that should have been covered by the Sun that were never covered. I think there's things that have never been covered, but I don't want to get ahead of my headlights because I'm just starting to do this now. And to be honest, I don't pay attention to the Sun, probably like you. So I'm not going to talk so much about it. I don't know whether they had article on, the Batavia police dog issue ever, the Batavia, the pot shops in Union Township, and being afraid of doing a deal with Batavia Township to basically give Batavia Village to basically give them a cut of JED income tax so that Batavia Village, I guess, can use that money to annex parts of Batavia Township. So those are, there's a lot of stories. There's always drama with the Republican Party. There was an anonymous hit job thing that would have made good news reading and been very interesting to people. And where that was basically a total hit job thing that was going on, I'm not going to talk about it, but the Enquirer was interested in it, and I talked them out of it. Somebody had, but the Clermont Sun, it doesn't have anything. We had in the Republican Party, we had the Central Committee Chair Jeff Corcoran resign from leadership. We had elections. There were elections of new leadership for the Republican Party. None of that's covered in here. None of that kind of stuff's ever covered because I believe that Megan Alley is completely disconnected from the actual community. And so therefore the editor's number one lead story was Township is asking for input. Asking for input is the number one lead story. So what do I think then the most valuable part of this? I don't have a sponsor. But what do I think is the most valuable part of the whole Clermont Sun? I want to give a shout out to. It's Jungle Gyms. So Jungle Gyms is probably the biggest non-governmental advertiser in the Sun, and they have their grocery insert in here. And so actually, I think most people would think the most useful part of the Sun is to figure out what's going on at Jungle Gyms and what kind of deals they got this week. Now, you can go and buy your Clermont Sun at Meijer or at they used to sell them at Meijer. I bought them at Meijer in the past. There's by First Baptist Church, there's a Marathon station that sells them. You really have to search hard to find people that sell them. Walmart sells them, but only on the east side. They only have one rack, and usually you can see they put a big stack of them for sale there on when they come in. And then if you go in the day before the new ones are coming out, you look and say, like, did anybody buy these? So it just seems they get thrown away, like put there and then thrown away. I have no idea. They would never tell me what their retail sales were. I think they're pathetic. I don't think anybody buys this thing. But Jungle Gyms, we all love Jungle Gyms, right? Great Clermont County asset. And And this flyer, I mean, they got some incredible deals, and it's more valuable than Mark Tacolby's self-written story about how awesome Mark Tacolby is. So I wish our government leaders could provide as much value to the community as Jungle Gym. So I want to encourage you to go to Jungle Gyms. If you want to get this flyer, you can buy your son at the Walmart. They might still sell it at Meijer, at the Marathon Station by, I think it's a Marathon Station by First Baptist Church of Glen Estee. I guess Jungle Gyms sell these. You know, the other way to get this flyer would be just go to Jungle Gyms. I'm sure these flyers are free at Jungle Gyms, but you can pay $1.50 for them to get them through the flyer. So let's see what I think are the standout things on sale at Jungle Gyms this week. One of the things caught my eye, I got a sweet tooth. They have, let's see if I can get it up there. They have, I'm doing terrible here. They have, look at that, Reese cups, king size Reese cups, 79 cents. That's more valuable to know than almost any article in the Sun. That's at Jungle Gyms this week. I mean, I would get out there. So full king size Reese cups for 79 cents. That's a deal. I saw a couple other things in here that I thought were deals that I was be heading over. Sunny D. Okay, so let me look at this. So I'm a huge fan of Sunny D. Okay, so look at that. They got Sunny D at Jungle Gyms this week for $2.99. Sunny D for $2.99. That's a deal. And I'll tell you what, you go to the liquor store at Jungle Gyms and you pick yourself up a bottle of vanilla vodka or cream vodka. You mix that with the Sunny D, and I call that a Sunny V, Sunny vodka. It's fantastic. It's like a creamsicle vodka drink, super easy to make, super easy. You can do it by the glass, put like a glass, like a double basically into the glass with the Sunny D, or you can mix it into the Sunny D bottle. I do that. If we're going to have a big party, mix it into the Sunny D bottle. But everybody should know Jungle Gyms, unlike some of these places, has a liquor store there. So you can go get your Sunny D and you can get your vanilla vodka there. And so I think that's a deal. And then I drink Miller 64, which is like low alcohol, and people make fun of me. And my wife drinks Miller Lite, and those are like $24 a case now. But I see they have not that, but where is it here? They have Keystone for $13.99 at Jungle Gyms. Keystone for $13.99 at Jungle Gyms. Which, I got to maybe try to slip my wife some Keystones and see if she notices the difference. That's an incredible savings over what it costs for a case of Miller Lite or Miller 64. So those are the highlights. Let me see if I see anything else that's hot here. Hostess cupcakes. Do you remember those from your kid? $2.99 at Jungle Gyms. So Jungle Gyms is, the biggest commercial sponsor of the Clermont Sun. And I really encourage you to get out there. They're not a sponsor of this readout of the Clermont Sun. So I'm doing this. This is not a paid endorsement of Jungle Gyms. But see, Jungle Gyms also has a big ad in the paper. Okay. So Jungle Gyms is heavy in to the supporting the Clermont Sun and the 1,000. I wonder if Jungle Gyms has ever asked the Clermont Sun what its actual circulation numbers are, because I don't know what Jungle Gyms is paying, but it's a lot of money potentially for an ad that's circular to a very small number of people. Okay, let's check the time here. 20. I wanted this to be 30 minutes, and everybody knows I'm a pretty verbose guy, more into long form stuff. And so I thought I was going to try to have 30 minutes, but I'm still like a couple minutes short. I'm trying to think of anything else to talk about. I don't know. I guess that's it. That's the Clermont Sun. I've really stretched it out. It was about 10 minutes of actual content in the paper, and now in the weeks ahead, I'll be able to better remember what had been covered in prior issues, so I can know what was covered, because there's a week separation. But just remember, we have a paper that is so pathetic that the headline story, let me get in there close. The headline story is written by an elected official. The headline story is written by an elected official. And, how embarrassing is it that you might as well go work for Reach Magazine or something? How embarrassing is it if you're a newspaper and the stories, you have no respect for the concept of the Founding Fathers' First Amendment press concept of being a somewhat of a watchdog and a check and balance over government. The Clermont Sun, hold on, I got to turn off my jungle music. The Clermont Sun is so pathetic. It has the elected officials writing articles for it, and not just articles buried, like an update on. By the way, there's no update on Mark DeColvey, what he's at, his role or what he's done about the cover up of a couple years ago that has been buried of embezzlement from senior services. There's no update on any of that stuff because we can't do that because we might lose our ads. And instead, we have that the newspaper has its articles come from the elected officials. It's so pathetic, and there's got to be a change. And we'll see what's happened. It's kind of like the Panama Canal. The Clermont Sun has violated its a duty to Clermont Countyans, and it should get out of the way. And I saw Trump throw up plans for taking over the Panama Canal because they violated the treaty, and this thing's got to go. So keep posted. This has got to go. I didn't even get to 30 minutes, and I was trying desperately to get to 30 minutes. But thank you for tuning in for this wonderful walkthrough of the Clermont Suns edition for the week of dated March 13th.